And I watched MJF last night in the ring doing a one man monologue basically, and he put on a clinic of what you do as a big money ball player for any organization. And there are folks within that organization that are paid a bajillion dollars, and there's folks that think they're the best thing since sliced bread. But man, that kid has got that it factor and knows how to talk and lay it all out there in such a way that it will get under your skin, because that's what you got to do. The interview's got to be something close enough to reality that it pushes buttons and grabs a nerve with someone. And I mean, no one is safe in his presence because he is laser focused. He's fantastic at what he does. I'm sorry he didn't make the move to the WWE, because watching him last night, he definitely could have held center stage in that ring with that big audience, and absolutely killed it. So, but he's still a young man. He's still got time to spread his wings and do whatever he wants to do. But man, I hadn't seen him in quite a while because he's been gone. But it really impressed me. He's kind of freshened his look up a little bit, and he's in best shape he's ever been in his life. The way he looks, and it's good to see somebody that brings all those pieces to the equation that we just considered, table stakes, 30, 40 years ago. You weren't in the conversation if you couldn't speak, if you didn't look good, if you couldn't work your way around the ring and tell the stories and do all the things we talk about. And so it was refreshing to see that hasn't gone out of style. It's just the folks that can't do that well find lots of reasons to explain why it's not important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Greg, what do you think of MJF? I know we've talked about him before.
Well, you know what? When you do an interview, the way we're taught, you have to talk from the heart. You have to believe in what you're talking about.
Right.
And he brings that all to the table. I mean, when you see him in the ring and he's doing an interview, you're getting the real MJF. I mean, you really are. And that's what sells tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to be somebody you're not and trying to express yourself that way, it always fails. And when you can learn how to talk from the heart, talk about through your real personality, who you really are, that's what gets over with the people. And he's getting over.
That he is.
He's talking from the heart. I mean, everything he says, you believe.
Right.
And he believes it. Otherwise,
I believed it. It was. Yeah. I mean, he was calling it like right down the middle, and telling people like it was, and people that were all puffed up about what they thought they were doing well. He let them all know where they stood. And it's kind of the only thing about calling yourself the best in the world is kind of old, because I mean Punk did that 10 years ago, and it was he was able to pull that shtick off, and that's the only piece of the whole thing that I would even remotely even say anything about. But it was also good. It really doesn't matter. But it's you got to believe you are the best if you want to be in that spot. You really do.
And you want to convey like that you have that presence, and he has that presence that like it stands out above all the rest. I think on AEW in a lot of the ways of how he handles himself, what he can say, and just the body language and charisma he brings immediately. Like them kicking it off like that was the best thing they probably could have done. Magnum and Greg, I wanted to get your perspective on this. I don't. In the promo though, he happened to kind of disparage some of the other talent when it comes to like a big name like Okada. Kind of questioned his physique, and there were some other digs he took about Swerve, things like that. Magnum, did you take any exception to that, or how do you feel about that in the grand scheme of like, hey, you're supposed to kind of help put these guys over because then they look more legitimate?
You've got to if you don't state what other people are afraid to say, he stated observations that someone sitting on a couch would say the same thing.
Sure.
You're supposed to be a big money ball player. When you're when you're being represented as, the top tier in professional athletics, then, then you need to look like you're bringing all you got.
Mhm.
I mean, granted, everybody isn't going to be chiseled physique and whatnot, and you don't have to be, but you got to look like you're the best version of yourself that you're capable of being. And I think his observations were pretty spot on, because it's the old pride in your product, and wanting to represent yourself, to the utmost of what that may be. And yeah, I mean, everybody's going to step their game up. the, the other way you shut that up is to take some of that a little bit to heart, and bring your game up to the next level.
That's it. Did you agree with that assessment too?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll bring out the best in the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying it the way he sees it and the way he believes it. And and the couch watcher out there is probably feeling the same way he does, but they don't want to say it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've watched their product, and they have some good talent. I wouldn't say it's great talent, because they haven't reached that pinnacle yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're trying to be somebody that they're really not.
Mm-hmm.
That's the impression I get from watching some of them. MJF, what you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real him that comes out when he's talking that. And, they could all take a lesson from him on that. Not try to be somebody they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Be who you are. Let that inner personality really come out. That's when you make that connection with the public out there. And either they're going to like you or they're going to hate you. But either way, if you get them going either way, they're going to buy tickets.
Exactly. I know initially that MJF's gotten a lot of comparisons to him in certain ways. Do you see any comparisons in between the two, him and Gino Hernandez?
Well, it's so hard to compare, because I mean, MJF is a real heel. He can be a real heel,
Mm-hmm.
and Gino certainly was right in that mold. He was very comfortable in that role, liked it, yeah, and he liked playing the playboy. And I think he dated some Hollywood movie starlets back in the day, and he was certainly living the life, so to speak, way beyond where anybody his age, usually was at that time of the business. So, yeah, I could see, if MJF had been in that genre in that time frame, I could see a comparison for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.